This time out on the Rusty Pilot, I'm going to cover whether you should buy a plane or rent. Now, obviously, you guys know that we bought a little airplane for $27,000 and we've made it through private pilot with it. But I'd like to break down some numbers on maybe going a little bit more baller on an airplane and see what money over time looks like when you're looking at the finances of paying 200 grand for a 4-year degree, a CFI, 350 hours of time and flight instructor in another 3 years to get to 1,500 hours, or getting $200,000 together, buying an airplane, and going for it over an 18 or 24-month period. Now, most of the videos you'll see on this subject will literally just break down the cost of owning an airplane versus the cost of renting and going to school. I'm going to make some further assumptions to make a real analysis of the problem, which is you can borrow $200,000 and go to school. You got to eat while you're there for 4 years. Um, you you've got you're only going to come out of it with a CFI, double I, and MEI in maybe 350 hours. At school, you probably start flight instructing after about the 250 hour mark. Where if you took that same money, and I'm gonna assume you can assume where you're borrowing it or you just have 200 grand either way. But if I take 200 grand and I go buy $150,000 172 with a decent glass cockpit and a low time engine, and hold back another 50 just for gas and maintenance, and then another 20 for the hangar, which is ultimately the only money you're going to really be out in this is the hangar and the insurance that I can't get rid of. But if I commit that I'm going to do in 18 months go from private to ATP, I end up getting a job and starting to make $75,000 a year way quicker than the kid that graduates from the 4-year school with 350 hours and flight instructs until 7 or 800 hours trying to find a job. And I get to $100,000 a year in income a lot quicker than they do. And also, I have the ability at the end of my year and a half or 2 years to resell the airplane. If I bought it for 150, I'll at least get 125,000 out of it. Well, if I drop that 125,000 that I've gotten back out of my airplane, forget that I've spent nearly $70,000 flying it in maintenance. I can stick that in the S&P 500 index fund over the next 40 years, and it's going to be 1.9 million. Where the $200,000 you spent on the 4-year degree in flying, you didn't get near the number of hours that I've got, and you certainly don't have the 1.9 million. Also, because I start making money several years before you, that's worth another 450 or $500,000 over the course of a working career. Buying the airplane at the end of the day will probably put you about 2.3, 2.4 million ahead of the pilot that gets a 4-year degree when you get ready to retire. I've been buying airplanes in the market for now like 3 years. I've been involved in probably 6 or 7 airplane deals and 3 or 4 purchases at this point. Those airplanes that we've bought, the Sierra we bought for like 105, I probably had another 60 in it by the time I sold it for 165. Pretty much broke even and flew that thing for free other than the gas money I put in it. And that's what we're going to gamble with on our oldest boy. We've got a little Grumman that we'll probably get 35 out of, and we've probably got that much in operating it so far. But we're going to trade up airplanes to a 172 or a Piper 180 or a Sundowner, a fixed gear, sturdy trainer with some glass in it that we can do IFR and commercial and burn hours to get most of the way to ATP. For the other hours, I mean, we happen to own a VTEL Bonanza. I'll throw him in there with me to get the rest of the complex time. But if you're looking, if you take a real look at the time factor on the money, and you're going to borrow $200,000 to send your kid to school, and they're going to come out with 350 hours and no job, and they're going to have to grind for another couple of years. If you've got access to the money, either through loans or you just have the 200 grand, that child's going to be miles ahead, and they're going to get to the finish line quicker because they start making money as a pilot 3 or 4 years earlier than that other child. It's probably the difference in retiring at 60 and retiring at 67. It gives them a whole decade at the end of their lives at 60 to 70 years old that they still got good prime health to get out and enjoy what they've done. Where the other one is going to be $1 million short of where they're at if you just put in an S&P 500 index fund. I'm not, I mean, they might invest in CrowdStrike and hit big, who knows. But when you watch those videos on YouTube and you see those talks, as a parent, if you've got the ability to swing it, or if the child's got the ability to swing it, you're better off going through the pains of learning how to get the airplane to the ATP, getting out and being in the real world system versus flying around a traffic pattern teaching people to land is invaluable. When you get your first citation job, that plane, or your first twin bearing job, that plane's going to overrun the pattern at such a speed that you aren't used to that it will take a while to catch up with. Where the person with that airplane that's used to coming in and planning and planning and planning, I mean, there's a YouTube channel. There's two guys that have bought a twin and they're doing it, two brothers on their own time. They're going to be miles ahead of people, but they talk about it on that channel how they're in the system filing IFR all day versus the CFI that's not talking to anybody but Unicom and making a whole bunch of landings and stalls. That CFI's got a slower grind. They're making less money, and at the end of the day, they're not in real world flying. Guys, if you watched it this far, like and subscribe. We're going to start a whole video series from zero to ATP with my oldest boy that'll be on this channel. And, we're literally going to pick it up at about the 150 hour mark, which is where he's at right now, as soon as we buy another plane. And we'll go through the shopping process for the plane. I've done that a little bit in some of the past videos here, but I'll take you through how we hunt, how we go through a pre-buy, how we pick something, and then whether we're holding back reserves for engines or just going and then dumping at the end. Right along.